Hello Porkies, this is day 59 of me playing chess every day until I reach the rapid rank of 2500. So here we go. We have the game, we have the black pieces against a 1900 rated opponent, and we face pawn to e4, so let's play my Caro-Kann defense. I like this opening, d4 and d5, this is the main position of the Caro-Kann defense, and he decided to take the pawn, which is the exchange variation, unless he plays c4. But no, he follows the main line with bishop d3, now knight c6 attacks this pawn, so c3 or knight f3, c3 is the best. You could play knight f3, but after bishop g4 you are in some trouble, but c3 is just good enough there. But you should firstly play c3, bishop f4 then, and then knight f3 and knight d2, and you should be fine, so c3 it is. Now knight f6 is just good enough, trying to play bishop g4. Bishop f4 himself, I had this exact position numerous times in the overboard classical games. Queen b3 here is the best move. There is nothing else you could possibly play here. Knight f3 has been played before. It's not the best. I mean, you could just play queen b3 and put some pressure, unless I just got to develop my light square bishop with zero compensation for white. And yes, I like this position very much. Queen b3 played, and now I have two options: either you play queen d7 or queen c8. I like playing queen c8 here to put some pressure on c4 later on. e6, bishop e7 and castles is my plan. Now knight d2 followed by knight f3 is another plan for white as well here. But you should try to play as solid as possible with both colors. So knight d2 it is, e6, knight f3 and bishop e7. Castles for both sides. You play h3 firstly, wow. So h3 you could play bishop f5 here. But let's just be solid, yeah? Let's play bishop h5 and bishop g6 and trade off the bishops. Knight f3, bishop e7 doesn't change anything, castles and castles. And that's actually the theory after both sides, castles h3 and bishop h5, so that's just fine. Now h3 has been played, so bishop g6 is my probably next move. Also a6, b5, and this maneuver to get the knight to c4 is quite common here. Excuse me, so rook a to e1 was just played, which is a nice move. Trying to play knight e5 next move, which makes a lot of sense. But I just play a6, b5. There is nothing to think here. Knight e5, I play b5. Probably just takes and double up on the c file. Maybe bring this knight to c4 like this. Once b5 is played, then this knight can get around like this, and finally to c4 here. So yes, that's quite common plan here, transferring one of the knights to c4, maybe this one like this, but all makes a lot of sense when you see the position with b5 and d5 binding this c4 square down. Now queen c2 must be a candidate move for my opponent, trying to put some pressure here. But after something like queen c2, I can just play bishop g6, trading off the light squared bishops, and then my position should be very solid, and I will start an attack on the queen side with my pawns and especially my c6 knights here. So yes, I really like those attacking positions on the queen side, playing positionally, playing b5, playing a6, and just controlling as much space on the queen side as possible. I still have more time than I started with, so that's a good sign. One note here, c4 is possibility, but after knight a5 it's pretty awkward. I mean, c5, I guess it's a move, but it doesn't make too much sense because d4 will be forever weak. I cannot take here because knight takes and then the pawn is defended by this knight here. That's not yet exploitable, but we will get on work when my opponent plays c4, if he plays c4 at all. Now knight e5 is a common idea with g4 and then taking with the knight my bishop. But then I have just all my pawns, almost all, for except for g7 pawn here, which is on the dark square, but I will play b5 and have all my pawns on light squares fighting against this powerful bishop on d3, which might not be as powerful if I get all my pawns to light squares. So knight e5 was just played, which is a nice move. Now I would like to play knight a5 and knight c4, but that's currently impossible because I would lose the pawn. So b5 firstly. If knight takes, well, just queen takes, and then we get this knight around, which is still very good. Bishop g6 always. Now knight f3, but then knight a5, bishop g6 perhaps, and knight c4 happens. And if you have to give your bishop away, then I take with the b pawn, and b2 suddenly becomes very weak, and I start to push down on the queen side, opening up the b file to attack the b2 pawn. So that's pretty unpleasant. You shouldn't really get into those waters. I guess just taking on c6 is okay. But suddenly you have to attack on the king side, otherwise I will just have all the fun on the queen side and you will need to defend your position, which might be very tough. My opponent is playing not so quickly, so he might get in time trouble as well, which is of course unpleasant if you're playing against a slightly stronger opponent who still has more time on the clock. I will try to put pressure on him. I will try to play as quickly as I can. Of course I will think, that's normal. I won't go into too long things if not completely necessary here. Because I have a lot of experiences in these kind of positions. Now knight f3 I would say is okay, trying to take here and then playing knight e5, but after knight f3 I won't just play random move like rook b8, which you should just lose after knight takes and bishop b8. But for example rook d8, knight f3 and rook d8, I won't play that because takes, and then knight e5 and I have zero counterplay that. I could still bring my knight around though. But after knight f3, I will just play knight a5 with a tempo on the queen and then knight c4 after queen c2. You are not threatening to win the h7 pawn because of my knight, and if you play move like bishop g5 trying to take here and then take on h7, well, I just play bishop g6 and you have pretty much nothing. If you take with the knight, I take back. You play knight f3, well now knight a5 is probably the only move in the position. So let's do that, knight a5 and knight c4. If queen c2, perhaps just bishop g6 should be played firstly. Why? Well, because knight c4 does allow maybe bishop g5 and then maybe knight takes and then some sacrifices on here and e6 will be weak. So just bishop g6 here, yes. Knight takes, pawn takes, h takes on g6 as I mentioned is very good move here. Anyway, knight takes should be slightly better, yes. And now knight e5, well knight e5 I play knight c5. If you take here, well my pawn on e6 is defended here. And I simply play like the queen e8, and I had actually faced this kind of trick with knight e5 and knight g6 today. Actually I was playing a blitz game in the school when I attended a few classes. I should have listened, but I played few blitz games. But yes, I refuted the option to take on g6, but it is completely legit. But knight c4 there is no takes because bishop takes. Well, I don't think there is anything. I should think. So knight c4 takes, and bishop takes. I am up a piece for 2 pawns. But I could play b4. Takes, attacking the rook. Should be just fine. So yes, just knight c4. Offering a trade of knights. I won't take on e5, never ever. If you take on g6, well, that's too risky because I have 15 minutes left. I will be able to defend that position because I have a knight that prevents anything. That bishop is not as useful. I have a lot of defenders around my king. Even queen e8 will be possible in some moment. Rook a7 defending the 7th rank. The pawn on e6 is still very much defended. So I have zero trouble. Maybe bishop d6. If knight g6, f g6, bishop d6, maybe bishop d6 trading, and then getting to e4 at some moment is just a nice outpost, but not outpost for my pieces because there is f3, but still, it shouldn't be as dangerous. Yes, maybe now knight c4 was played, but I have also maybe an idea, potential idea that I go to d6 and occupy this e4 square in the middle of the board with my two knights, which would be pretty great square for my two knights. My opponent suddenly under 10 minutes. That means he is not comfortable in this particular position. Maybe he hasn't played that many games in Caro-Kann exchange variation with this exact pawn structure. When I attack on the queen side, I get rook b18, maybe queen b7 and rook c8, and doubling up on the c file, playing b4, playing a5, playing a4 even. That might be pretty dangerous. There is one move my opponent can consider, which is to play pawn to b3. What can I say about pawn to b3? Well, it's usually a bad move. Why? Firstly, I could just go back to b6, but in this particular position, I think I would go back to d6 actually. And then suddenly c3 is very weak. You cannot really push c4. I mean, you potentially could, but it opens up too many things, and now d4 is actually an isolated pawn, which is pretty weak. I get 95 in. It should be slightly, I mean, slightly, you should be suffering in that rising endgame, if you will. If you could trade queens, then it would be pretty early endgame, but still, it is an endgame. And also b3, I could potentially play knight e3, queen b2, I guess. I cannot win c3 just yet, so that's not really efficient. And my knight is pretty trapped here. Unless I play like b4, but then just takes, and I don't have really anything because rook c1 happens. I don't like that position, but my opponent is definitely thinking about sacking something here. I mean, bishop g6 takes, knight takes, and bishop d6. Oh, wait. No, that forks me, so I have to probably play rook f7. But still, knight takes e7, rook takes on e7, everything should be fine. So a3 is played, and the a3 seems like a big, not blunder, but what is this? I mean, a3, after takes, then this, now b2 is forever weak. You cannot move b3. You could play b4 actually, wait. At some moment b4. Wait, why cannot you play b4 right here? b4? c3 is too weak, yeah. I go here. And why does... I mean, a3 now you cannot play b4 because I take on a3. So that's a good point. For me, maybe queen b7 now. But then e6 is suddenly weak, so there is some potential sacrifices here. Queen d7 is impossible. Here is impossible. Maybe my position is not as good as I thought it is. Also, there is just 97. Trading pieces. If I can, I would do that. 97. Maybe knight takes here, but then simply pawn takes. And I get a 4 in b3 is too weak, yeah. 97. I just take there. Bishop takes. I could just play bishop f6 there. So 97. If takes, just takes. I mean, that's very good position for me. It's still balancedly equal, I would say, but there are some imbalances. I will try to push a5. I will try to push b4 even. Takes, and bishop takes. Would isolate these two pawns, which would be pretty good for me. But of course, you can take once and then you don't take a second time, which is a great idea. But yes, spending so much time. We are only at move 18. My opponent is down to 7 minutes, excuse me, which is less than half of his time. Well, that's kind of concerning, isn't it? I mean, I would say this. There is bishop takes here. Bishop takes here. There is a potential to play knight takes on d5, bishop takes, and then pawn takes. But you could just take pawn takes back and then something happens between this. Now I'm creating a tension here. You shouldn't just take the knight, I think. Because if takes, just rook takes probably back. You should be just fine, doubling up on the e-file, I guess. Um, so that's just an idea to not take here. Queen e2 is played, wow. Queen e2, what's that? Oh wait, rook takes is even impossible because knight takes on. Oh my goodness. But yeah, just knight takes, right? Knight takes, bishop takes, knight takes. No, I won't trade my bishop off. I don't. I have time. Let me think. Queen e2, does it create any threats? Maybe queen g4 actually. Queen g4. Queen g4. I could there play knight f6 actually, which might be the best move actually. Yeah, so let's play queen b7. Queen g4, I go here. If queen g3 is played back, I play knight h5, working pieces. Queen b7, preparing rook c8, preparing to expand on the queen side and try to win some pawns, try to make some weaknesses. And usually it's like that. Listen, if you don't get mated... Wait, I just forgot that something is hanging in my position. Wow. Knight takes g6, it's a legit threat. Takes and queen takes here and I lose. Ay. Which is not even true. It check, I go here. Queen there. Knight f6. Bishop g5 and I return, yeah. King g8 takes, rook takes, queen h7 here. Rook here. Bishop g6, I can take it. Oh my goodness, how did I miss knight g6? I think I was just playing too quickly. I mean, even knight g6, rook e8. Not the end of the world though. Losing yes, knight g6 played. I think I cannot take. So rook e8 now. Queen e5 though. Here and bishop takes. Rook c8. Here and here is checkmate. Rook 8, queen h5. Takes, bishop takes, knight f6 though. No, but this loses an exchange, yeah. And that's my only move. Queen h5 now. Takes, bishop takes. Oh, knight f6 actually attacks the queen, so that's pretty fine. Queen h4, there is some tricks in the position there. I'm not sure what exactly. If knight takes e7, rook takes on e7, and queen h5 and g6 happens. Queen h7, queen h6, excuse me. I go queen b8 here. So not queen b, no, queen b8 loses. So queen where takes, queen h5. I play f5, but then g4, but then takes, but then e6 is too weak. Yeah. Well, we'll try to play as quickly as we can, trying to maybe put my opponent into unpleasant time scramble, because my opponent is almost winning here. I'm pretty certain about that. I'm not sure how it's winning, how winning it is actually. Maybe it is just like plus 10 for white because you play like queen h5 or something, or even rook takes on e7. If I can consolidate, if I can get enough counterplay, then it might be hard to play with 3 minutes. But I just completely missed the idea of queen e2 actually. queen e2 creates a threat on e6 that I... And yes, queen c8 was... The queen on c8 was just defending the e6 pawn, so I should just play it like knight f6. And if takes, well, there is takes, but this trades queens, then king f7 should be just easy winning. Now rook e8 is played, I'm down a pawn. If I could put one pawn anywhere, I would put it on f5 definitely. So now just rook e7 is the only move. Queen h5, g6, queen h6. We need to calculate that, but oh, there is no bishop e5 because simply knight takes or knight takes. That's something. There is bishop takes. I'm not sure how good that actually is. There is no queen f6 though. But if I go there, there is... No, there is not. I mean, I'm kind of restraining this bishop by my knights, actually. So my knights are both on light square. That means they are controlling quite a lot of crucial dark squares in the position. On the king side especially. If you move your queen, well, b2 will be hanging at some point. Of course, queen h5 creates a threat of checkmate in two moves, so you cannot pick a pawn here, but you play a4, which is so fucking weird. Excuse me for that, but this is very weird move. You're not doing anything. If there is only one person who wants to open up the king side, and that is definitely black. So knight f6 now, controlling here. Bishop g5 actually might be kind of bad. Bishop g5. Rook c8 takes. Queen g4 here. Queen h5. I go to e7 though. Knight f6, bishop g5, rook e8 takes. Check. I go here. And then to e7 and open up the queen side, which might be actually good for me. And also if takes, just takes. Knight b6 here, not that good. There's just knight f6, bishop g5, rook e8, takes. Opening up the king side, but I will just run my king to the center, which should be quite a safe place for my king. And then rooks go to attack this king. My opponent has 2 minutes and a half, so I will try to put as much pressure on the clock as well. So that might be pretty annoying for my opponent. Takes on b5 is bad, definitely. I would just say it like that, just pawn takes. If bishop takes, pawn takes should be just... I would call it better for black because of this. Bishop g5 is a legit move, but now rook e8 takes. Queen g4, I still go to f8. Queen h5, I still go to f8. Queen f3? Maybe f5? No, f5. Queen f3 is something I have missed. Attacking f6, excuse me. How do we defend? Queen e7 is not good because it prevents the king to go to e7. f5, but then g4, but then takes, and king f8, and here. b3 is bad because of 96, that's just a no-brainer. I mean, not bad, but 96 is just good. Queen f3 here. Attacking f6, that is, yeah, so f5 now comes to mind. f5, g4 takes, queen takes, I go to f8. 94 now, I guess. Oh my goodness. Why didn't I spend more time here? Now I blundered a fork here. Aye. It's still not that over. Queen actually doesn't get trapped, which is quite bad. But I play king h7 here. Takes and d5. No, if I just allowed bishop takes on. Aye. So I go here now. Creating as much counterplay as I possibly can. G4 now, bad move because you're opening up the king. I cannot take though. I mean, of course I'm completely so bad. Why didn't I spend more time when I had it? But actually, what can I actually play? King G7 or what? King G7 are like Rook F3. So here, where Queen F3. Maybe I could play King G7. For example, yes. I cannot analyze the game right here, but King G7. I'm not before F5. Here, King G7. I mean, there's still check. Or Queen H5 is also a move. Now Rook E3 happens with an idea of Rook G3. Rook D8. Queen F5. Queen C8. Here I just take it. Cannot take here. Queen E5 actually better move probably. Rook F6 here and I double up. Rook F6 G4 though. You're not threatening to take because your king is here. I mean, you still only have 2 minutes, but you should be able to do this in a sleep. Queen C6. I will try to create counterplay, but this Rook E3 and Rook G3 was a very nice idea. Bishop takes. G4 is bad. But G4 just... I mean, G4 and King H2, I guess. King H2 here. Queen C8 here. Here is... The fact that you cannot take here is pretty bad. If we go here, well, I go here, here, here. Takes. And now this is kind of bad. I mean, you cannot take here and then take here because this is checkmate. Oh, well, you can because bishop defends here. No, you can because bishop doesn't defend here. But queen takes is possible. And queen takes on f7 actually. Wait, what the Queen f3 is checkmate in 2 moves. Let's go, I won today's game. Will he resign? Oh my goodness, this is checkmate. I won down a piece. Let's go. I was completely desperate, but I definitely won today's game. So let's game review. It was so bad of a game, but it doesn't matter, we won. I lost yesterday, so I'm so happy I won today. I played badly, but I put some pressure on the clock, and now, yes. My opponent played with 84.5% accuracy, I played with 85. So let's analyze the game now. I played pawn, my opponent played pawn to e4, pawn to c6, was played here. So yes. D4 and D5 takes, and not C4, which is possibility. But yes, my opponent played bishop D3 here. I played knight C6, attacking opponent. C3 was played, knight F6, and bishop F4, which is logical move, trying to play queen B3 and then develop the knights. I played bishop G4, queen B3, and queen C8. Knight D2 is the best move here. E6, and my opponent played H3, which was kind of weird. Usually in this kind of positions you play knight F3 firstly, bishop E7, castles, and then like H3 or something, and then bishop H4 and then A6, B5. But okay, H3 here, bishop H5, kind of only move. You could, for example, play bishop F5 here, and after takes, Bishop e5 is the best move. Well, that's pretty hard to find, but knight f3, for example, bishop e7, castles and castles, let's say, rook fe1 and knight e4. Oh wait, that loses a pawn. No, excuse me. But in some positions like um rook e8 here, for example, queen c2, let's say, and then knight e4, and you see that we get a really strong knight. But okay, bishop h5 I played instead of bishop f5 here, which was still possible. Knight f3, bishop e7, castles, castles, rook e1 and a6 here, and b5, which is not the best. b5 actually not the best. You should take here. It's the best line. Takes and knight d7, followed by b5, knight b6 and c, which was logical. Queen c2 here and bishop g6, of course. Takes and takes, which was pretty okay. h4 sacking the pawn for some reason. What about takes? Just giving a pawn is fine here, which is okay, but I played b5 here. Knight f3, I played knight a5, which is actually a mistake. Queen c2, bishop g6, and I'm already slightly worse after knight takes on g6 takes. Knight e5, not the best move. Knight c4 now. a3, yes, this was an inaccuracy. It was very weird move. Weakening b2, but still I played knight d7, queen e2, and I played the losing mistake here. I played queen b7, which looks just fine, trying to play rook c8, trying to play b4 in some positions, but no. Knight takes on g6. Brilliant move. It's really nice move actually. If you take here, which I think was not that good, queen takes on e6, and I guess it's rook f7 here, and then like here, bishop g6. Why is that better? Rook f8 takes, not take, but something else. g4, I guess you're not threatening to take here. But yes, this is kinda a zugzwang for black, so I played rook fe8, which was fine, but still losing anyway. Knight takes, rook takes, and a4 here was a mistake. I should have taken here. But I play knight f6. Why should I take here? Because takes looks quite good. Queen takes. Knight b6 apparently. Queen d3 and knight d5. Well, I guess, but it's still plus 1.6. But I played knight f6, which is so much more. Losing a takes, bishop g5, rook e8, takes, b3, knight d6, queen f3, and I played f5. Well, f5, my opponent immediately responded with this brilliant fork. It's not brilliant, but I haven't seen it. Of course, forky chess is... yes, kinda... I'm dishonored that I get forked so much, but okay, that's part of life. King h7, queen takes on d6 and rook g8, trying to create some counterplay here. Rook e3, rook d8, queen e5 here, and doubling up on the g5 takes. g4 actually, I played queen c8. Here I took, he took, I took. And the only mistake, I mean the only losing move, bishop takes on f5. Simply queen f3. King h2, queen g2 is checkmate. Which is of course the only move you cannot play. Rook g2, well, you lose your king, so queen g2 is of course checkmate. Today was a pretty stressful game. I made a lot of mistakes, but still we learn from them. And yeah, so if you have anything to tell me, please let me know in the comments below. I will be reading and answering all of your comments. And if you like the video, please consider subscribing. It would really help me out. And see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.